Welcome back. This week in the United Kingdom, it's Male Cancer Awareness Week, and we'll take a look at the fight against the disease in men in more detail in just a moment. But first, here are some other stories to keep an eye on. The Australian Federal Police have made the largest seizure of crystal methamphetamine in the country's history. Detectives discovered over 900 kilograms of the illicit drug, also known as ice, hidden in boxes of wooden floorboards at a warehouse in Melbourne. The haul has an estimated street value of around $680 million. In Spain, properties worth nearly $750 million have been seized from family members of Bashar al-Assad. Hundreds of properties and businesses belonging to the Syrian president's uncle, Rafat al-Assad, were targeted in raids in the resort town of Marbella. And NASA is preparing to send its Cassini probe into the unexplored region between Saturn and its rings. After 13 years spent studying the giant planet, the exploration of the planet's rings will be the probe's scientific grand finale. The spacecraft will then plunge into Saturn, where it'll burn up. The number of men getting cancer is rising, partly because men are living longer than ever before. Lung cancer is still a major problem, largely due to smoking. Early diagnosis is vital, and there are signs that a growing numbers of men are asking for help promptly, which means survival rates are improving. Men are 14% more likely to get cancer than women, but we don't hear much about it. The biggest risk factor is age. The three most common cancers in men are prostate cancer, lung cancer, and colorectal cancer. 1.1 million men worldwide were diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2012. It accounts for 15% of the cancers diagnosed in men globally. Well, to discuss that further, I'm joined by Dr. Anya McCarthy, who's the Senior Science Communications Officer at Cancer Research UK. There is the belief that men are reluctant to talk about being ill, and particularly when it comes to cancers. Is that what you defined?
There's no evidence to suggest that men are less likely to go to the doctor if they're worried about something. But what we absolutely need to do is increase awareness among the public, men and women, about what the signs and symptoms of cancer are, and also what they can do to reduce their risk of developing the disease in the first place.
Well, let's talk about reducing risk, shall we? Prostate cancer, while not necessarily a major killer, is certainly a phenomenon amongst elderly men. Will that always be the case?
Cancer is primarily a disease of elderly people. So as we get older, our risk of developing cancer increases. But we also know that more people are surviving cancer today. So while age isn't necessarily something we can do anything about, there are certainly lifestyle habits and behaviours that we can do to reduce our chances of developing cancer.
So, I mean, prostate cancer, we focus on that for a minute. I know it's got higher prevalence amongst black men, for instance, amongst someone like myself who's got a family history of having prostate cancer in the family. Is there anything that those sectors can do to try and ameliorate the chances of them contracting prostate cancer?
There's something that everybody can do to reduce their chances of developing prostate cancer. Not smoking or quitting smoking, reducing your weight, maintaining a healthy, balanced diet, and also reducing your alcohol intake. If you do have a family history of prostate cancer, then it's important to speak to doctors about this and to inform them that you have this family history, especially if you notice any unusual changes within your own body.
What about the colorectal cancers, which I didn't realise were quite significant, actually, as the statistics show, not just in the UK, but around the world, increasingly. Is that something to do with our modern diet in particularly Western societies?
Again, with bowel cancer, as with all cancers, there are key things that you can do to reduce your chance of developing that disease, particularly maintaining a healthy, balanced diet, eating fruit and veg, reducing the amount of fats that you eat, eating good quality food. It's not about cutting things out entirely, it's about keeping a moderate diet. And
what about the ability of the medical profession and ourselves to take more care of our bodies and be aware of screening opportunities and things like that? Now, these things, of course, come at a cost, but should there be more screening of men's health as they go into their, say, 50s and 60s?
Screening has shown some evidence as working for some types of cancers, for example, cervical cancer. But we still need more evidence to firmly confirm if a screening programme works for prostate cancer. And if it does, then we will look at whether we can implement it or not.
Is it the case then that because we are all going to age, there is not much we can do about this? It's just about managing the problem rather than combating it or surviving cancer?
There's no guarantee that any one person will get cancer. But what the statistics are showing is that as we become an older population, our chances do increase. But there absolutely are things, like I mentioned, not smoking, exercising more, cutting down on your alcohol intake. These are all things that everybody of any age can do to reduce their chances of developing cancer.
What's the programme in terms of around the world, do you notice? I know we're focusing on the United Kingdom. We've got a particular focus on this. But do you think other health services around the world are getting that message out too, about trying to spread the awareness, not just amongst physicians, but amongst patients too?
I think it's very important, and I think around the world people are becoming more aware of cancer as a disease, and also the fact that we can do a lot to reduce our chances of developing it. At Cancer Research UK, we have a number of resources that people in the UK and indeed worldwide can have access to. We have information pages on our website, we have cancer chat forums that people can discuss things with. So with the age of the internet, I think people are getting access to that information, but we can always do more, and we can always talk about it more and hammer home those points time and time again.
And while that can sound alarmist, it's also the case that more people are surviving cancer, aren't they? They actually get a diagnosis, doctors can deal with it, and life goes on.
Absolutely. Today, 1 in 2 people survive cancer, and that has more than doubled since the 1970s. And research has been at the heart of that progress, and it will continue to be at the heart of the progress. At Cancer Research UK, our ambition is to see 3 in 4 people survive the disease by 2034. But it's also about making sure people survive with a good quality of life. In particular, for men's cancers, we've seen some very good success stories. For example, in testicular cancer, a drug that our scientists helped to develop, today, in part, helps 98% of men survive that disease. We've also seen clinical trials which are finding new combinations of drugs to give men with advanced prostate cancer more time with their family.
Okay, in terms of the way that the information is dissipated, though, cancers, although it's predominantly, as we've discussed, the problem of the elderly male, or including the elderly male, you mentioned testicular cancer, that can be a problem much younger men can suffer from, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what we need to do is get that awareness out across every channel. And that's why we aim to talk to everybody. We don't discriminate by age. We don't only talk to elderly people because they're at a greater risk. We talk to everybody. Cancer is a disease that can and does affect everyone, men, women, children, the young and the old.
What is the actual mechanics of this in terms of when your scientists tell you we're closing to getting a fix here or we're finding a drug there? Is it the case that once you've learnt a bit of technology can help you with one cancer, does it necessarily transfer to others? Or are you actually having to do work and fund research into each of these phenomena one by one?
At Cancer Research UK, we spend a large amount of money on research that examines every type of cancer, understanding the nuts and bolts of the disease. And this absolutely can and is applied to all cancer types. But things chop and change. Researchers nowadays are talking to each other much more. So discoveries, for example, that were made in breast cancer are now being applied to prostate and pancreatic cancer. We're seeing faults in some cancers are actually present in other diseases. And this is absolutely the case. Just because you find it in one cancer doesn't always mean it's unique to it.
Actually, the research, medical research can be a bit insular, can't it? And in silos around the world. And you're part of that process, are you? Trying to open that up and get people to share more?
At Cancer Research UK, we are certainly increasing and encouraging our researchers to work together on a global scale. For example, we recently funded some new projects through a Grand Challenge Award, and this is researchers who are working together in the UK with people in America, in Ireland, in Denmark. And it's about having people around the world talk to each other and share those insights so that we really can make progress against cancer faster.
Do you think my children's children will not suffer from cancer at all?
I think it's...
Will we get to that point, do you think?
I think it's very hard to say that people will never get cancer, but I think we certainly are getting closer to the day when more people will survive the disease and do so with a good quality of life, and that'll become something we can manage and that people can certainly survive.
Dr. Anya McCarthy, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We end the programme with our Insight Bite. This is a little something that we feel you should know. As the battle to reclaim Mosul from Daesh rages on, small signs are emerging that life in Iraq's second city is returning to normal. In Hammam al-Ali, a spa town south of Mosul, the once famous healing spring waters are once again flowing. The hot water spas are just next to camps, housing more than 30,000 people displaced in the conflict. When the town was under Daesh rule, bathers were forced to wear full-length tunics to adhere to strict modesty laws. As you saw, the dress code is now slightly more relaxed. And that's all from me for now. I'm Martin Stanford. That was Inside.